arrested last week as part of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' voter fraud crackdown were notified by official government entities that they were eligible to vote. That's according to court documents and interviews. The defendants told authorities they had no intention of committing voter fraud, according to affidavits, and in some cases were baffled by the arrest because counties had sent them voter registration cards and approved them to vote. I mean, this is a hot mess, and I mean by that a few things. One, which is this has been an ongoing conversation in your state about returning citizens, about getting them into the process, being able to vote. This is a solution in search of a problem, and I think it's pretty transparent why the governor is doing it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a human tragedy created by Ron DeSantis and Republicans in the state capital of Tallahassee. And the history here, Alicia, as Debbie knows well, is Florida voters voted by ballot referendum and said, we want felons who have paid their debt to society to be able to vote. And then the way it was implemented by the Republican legislature and the governor made it increasingly complicated for felons who had actually served their time. And there was a whole court case over whether or not paying your time and paying 20-year-old fees to a court needed to be taken care of and satisfied. And that's largely the batch of people that Ron DeSantis knowingly went after. It was felons who had paid their debt to society, but he found a catch, if you will, in the law to make an example out of them. It's a human tragedy for those who tried to exercise their franchise, but it speaks kind of to the dark-hearted politics of Ron DeSantis. And to your earlier point in the lead-in, Republicans wanted to go into November, frankly, talking about Joe Biden and the economy, and they cannot because Joe Biden is doing very well now and because the Dobbs case created an environment favorable to Democrats and the January 6 revelations have brought Donald Trump back. Republicans don't have anything to talk about. So they have to yell conspiracy and try to burn the house down. And that's what they're doing in Florida and nationwide.
They're looking at the talking points they thought that they were going to use, and they're like, well, back to the drawing board. But to your point, there's nothing there. I want to talk about Dobbs, Debbie, because this chart from the New York Times, I'm hoping we can bring it up. It shows the uptick in women who are registering to vote in 10 states following the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe. On average, since the decision, women in these states have made up 55% of newly registered voting. Before the ruling, men were outpacing women when it comes to voter registration. I'm of the belief, Debbie, that this is not just a women's issue, that this is an economic issue, that it is a motivating issue for a lot of voters, but clearly, very clearly, women are coming out and getting prepared to show up in the midterms. Your thoughts on how Democrats should talk about this going into November?
Yeah, well, Elisa, first of all, it's no surprise to me that the Republicans have chosen to attack women's rights as they're trying to rise in authoritarianism. Democracy and women's rights go hand in hand. And one of the things that DeSantis did was put in place an abortion ban without any exceptions to incest or rape in Florida, violating the state constitution. This is about our privacy. This is about our right to choose. It's a private matter between women, their family, and God. And I can tell you that it resonates for Republican women, for Democratic women, for independent women. No one, especially government, should not be telling us how to live our lives. And in Latin America, we have seen a rise in power by Latina women. Latina women got together and formed a movement, and we now see abortion being legal in countries like Argentina, Colombia, Mexico, which are conservative nations, extremely religious nations, but women came together to ask for the right, and especially because it's a matter of being able to be independent economically. How can we thrive economically if we are being forced to have a pregnancy, even when in cases of rape and incest? So I can tell you that this is a very positive thing for us. I have been talking to a lot of women here in the state of Florida, and they are registering. They are ready to come out and vote, and it's going to be a resonating vote against Ron DeSantis.